really grinds my gears.
What the hell is wrong with you?
What the hell is wrong with you?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Ryno's Rants. Moving to our regular Monday night time slot now. Doc Proto, Purple and Gold for Days. What up, Justin? Reggie Adams, Skull Mafia. Hey, thanks for joining, guys. Glad you could be here. Going to make this a little short and sweet tonight because I know there are some people who have some kind of a basketball game to watch and things like that. But glad any of you guys can show up for a while anyway here. Thought we'd hit the unresolved scenarios with one Dalvin Cook and Za'Darius Smith this week. It's been, as they say in the movies, quiet, too quiet on the on both fronts here. Now there was a little bit of news popped out today that Dalvin Cook had shown up at the team facilities in Egan and got checked out after his surgery, and it was made well known that the surgery was progressing nicely. Everything is healing well, and he should be good to go with no problems for the beginning of the season. Now, I guess we'll start with Dalvin. Of course, you know, his name was thrown around a lot. Hey, Ray, what's up? Thrown around a lot at the beginning, right before the season, you know, free agency started and everything like that. We're trying to clear some cap space and, of course, move on from his $14.101 million cap hit, which is fourth highest on the team as it sits right now. You know, there was, and then, of course, once he went and had that surgery, then he had an injury guarantee that kicked in. So it's kind of made some of the salary stuff a little bit interesting, I guess, so to speak. But I did break down some of the numbers. It's kind of some interesting things here I thought we'd hit quick. Right now, if they were to cut Dalvin Cook, they would incur $8.202 million in dead cap and only get 5.9 basically in cap savings. That's a pre-June 1st cut. If they were to move to a post-June 1st cut, you would have 5.1 million in dead and about 9 million in savings. Realistically, if they were just going to cut him, I think they would have done so earlier, before that injury kicked in and before he did the surgery. So, Doc, what's this basketball you speak of? I don't know. There's some colleges playing some game tonight. I don't know what it is, but it's nothing too important, I don't think. But however, with the Dalvin Cook, there's some interesting numbers. If we decided that we want to trade him, right now, if it was done as a pre-June 1 trade, which is the most likely scenario, I would guess, because my worthless opinion, again, one of the greatest names in all of social media. Glad you guys can join us. If we were to trade Dalvin Cook, which likely would have to happen within the next 3 weeks, you know, to get draft compensation for this year's draft, of course. GMAC, if we were to trade him pre-June 1, we're looking at 6.2 in dead, but we do get then up to 7.9 in savings. Hey, what's up, Ant? So it becomes a lot more favorable to trade him. Now, of course, the elephant in the room there is, will he pass a physical, which he would need to do in order for a trade to go through, which I think is maybe part of the reason why they made all that public today about how well his recovery is going and that sort of thing. Very interesting timing, to say the least, I guess, with the draft coming so close. As Mad Magazine said, the usual gang of idiots. Hey, we're all the usual gang of idiots, and I love having you guys here every week for this, for Brunswick's Best and for the main Friday show. Glad you guys are joining me. Now, one other number on the post June 1st trade. If we were to do that, we would only incur $3.1 million in dead cap and get $11 million in savings. That's why the news came out today. Skull Mafia, I believe that is also the case. Along with this, I think they are still trying to trade him. I know word came out earlier in the week that Miami had called about him and a few other things like that. So, I think there's something brewing. What this dumb GM does in the draft. I like what Kwesi's doing, to be honest with you. I'm not, we got to remember his thought process and ideology is completely different from what we've seen with 12 years or 16 years of Rick Spielman. There's different ways to look at this kind of stuff, and he's going to look at ways to maximize his return on the investments, not doing panic picks and panic trades and all this other stuff like what Spielman was known to do. Myself personally, I believe there is a trade agreed to in principle with Dalvin Cook, and they basically have to wait until he can pass a physical before that can be made official. So, once he can pass that physical, and hopefully that is going to be before the draft, I think you'll see Dalvin Cook moved on draft night. I really do. You're probably going to get a mid-round pick for him, a fourth, maybe a fifth at the worst. Dave, already done. I said I tend to agree with you. I think stuff has been too quiet in this stuff, and it makes absolutely no sense to re-sign Alexander Mattison if you're keeping Dalvin Cook around this year. I think they're going to roll with Mattison, Ty Chandler, and Kene Nwangwu as their running back group. Maybe pick up a late round guy or an undrafted free agent to bring in for some little depth, but I think the writing is pretty much on the wall here now. Could Dalvin Cook still play for us next year? Yeah, he could, but I think as we go along, it becomes less and less likely that that's going to happen. Anyway, like I said, the timing and stuff from today, interesting timing to say the least, and I think it's all part of a bigger plan here. Reggie, I think he's talking about there's already a trade agreed for Dalvin Cook. It just hasn't been announced yet. So anyway, we'll move on to the other guy here right now, and we'll kind of wrap things up a little bit later on this. But not firing Ed after week 10 was dumb. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that, Ken. But O'Connell's a first-year coach. That's his call. It's not Kwesi's call. It's the off season. We're bored. Let's start some rumors. We got some rumors. We can do that. Alden just take second in the NFC North. Yeah, we'll take second in the NFC North, but you guys are going to be in fourth there, banging on the drum. So that's we'll see how the love affair goes over in Green Bay here after all is said and done. Anyway, we'll kind of take a look over at the other side here now with Za'Darius Smith. Of course, he came out prior to the new league year, basically telling the Vikings fans, thanks for everything. It was great. I had fun playing here, but basically said his goodbyes. And now, since then, it has been extremely quiet. He is kind of cooled it on his social media stuff. Nothing has been said anytime recently. With kind of the same thing with Dalvin Cook. I think Za'Darius Smith is kind of in the same boat. I mean, we went and brought in Marcus Davenport, who's an edge rusher, and interestingly enough, paid him just about exactly what we would get in cap space by moving on from Za'Darius Smith. So tell me how they got Za'Darius to shut his mouth, David. I think there's one of two things. Either they told him, we'll get you traded someplace so you can get your contract, or there's also possibility that they move Danielle Hunter to try to get some high draft capital, and then they'll keep Za'Darius another couple of years and restructure his deal, give him a new contract. I think it's more Za'Darius probably is gone, but I'm not going to discount a potential Danielle Hunter trade either. But looking at some of the numbers with Za'Darius, he's got the third highest cap hit on the team at $15.49 million. Now, for a top quality edge rusher, that's a steal. It really is, which is why he did what he did with his, saying his goodbyes and stuff at the beginning, because he knows he's vastly underpaid and is hoping to be able to get somewhere where he can make more money. As it sits right now, if we were just to cut him, we would eat $8.3 million in dead cap and gain about 7.1. Post June 1, it kind of flips. We go to 6.7 in dead and 8.7 in savings. Now here's where it gets interesting. If we are to trade Za'Darius Smith, and this is why I think a trade is probably the most likely scenario, pre-June 1st trade, we only end up with $3.3 million in dead money and save 12.2, which there again is awful close to that $13 million that we gave Marcus Davenport. If you do it in a post-June 1st trade, you only have $1.7 million in dead money and save $13.8 million. So again, I would think any trade that happens is going to happen before the draft, so we get that draft capital. But and then there again, it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see there already being a deal in principle agreed to. It's just kind of waiting on some of this stuff. There's I don't see the logic in trading Hunter if you're not trading Cousins. The thing with trading Danielle Hunter is you could, if you don't get at least a first round draft pick and maybe a late second or a third along with that, you don't trade him. You don't. But he's the kind of player who could bring in that compensation. So if you are trying to bundle up draft picks to go make a splash, that is a possibility, I think. But no way would I trade him or cut him, make him play on a prove-it contract. That's kind of what he did last year. Excuse me. And, first half of the season, he played lights out, had 10 sacks. And then from that Buffalo game on, he had a half a sack the rest of the year. So, part of it was he was dealing with that knee contusion and things like that. But, did he gas himself after the first half? I don't know. It's questionable. But I think that, again, there's probably a trade agreed to in principle with Za'Darius Smith. With him, both him and Dalvin Cook, it seems like we've already, like I had mentioned with bringing back Alex Madison and then now Davenport, and you really don't sign replacements for guys that are still on the team unless you're planning on moving them. And so I think there is something going on. A spicy hot take, I guess I've been thinking about here for some of this stuff. It's with all the talk and GMAC, this kind of rolls back to what you're saying here. Trading Hunter is a rebuild move, and we're not rebuilding with a 35-year-old quarterback. I agree, but I think, and this kind of ties into what I was just bringing here. Ryno hates Kirk. Ryan, you say that every freaking week, and I know you do it just to yank my chain. I'm not going to bite this time, but I think, and this could involve Dalvin Cook trade. It could involve Za'Darius Smith trade. Could involve Danielle Hunter trade. But to your point, GMAC, it would not surprise me one bit to see the Vikings put a package together, provided that the guy is there who they want, like an Anthony Richardson, and package a deal up. If Richardson makes it past the top 2 picks, which I'm pretty sure he's going to, it's going to be Stroud and Young one way or the other, I think, going to Carolina and Houston. Arizona is where the draft really starts, pick 3. It would not surprise me one bit to see Kwesi put together a package and move up to 3rd to get somebody like Anthony Richardson. And then he would sit for a year behind Cousins because he's not ready to start. We all know that, and we're going to be perfectly clear on that part of it. You let Cousins play out that last year of his deal and let Richardson sit, learn from O'Connell for a year, and then when Kirk's contract is up at the end of the year, you thank him for his service, he moves on, and then we are ready to roll in 2024 with that rookie contract. Neo Cam Newton running his offense. Now you're sounding like Tollison, Ryan, because he is not Cam Newton. But hey, to each their own. You guys are spending way too much time together. You're finishing each other's sentences and using each other's quotes now. So, but I think it's entirely possible. There's also Will Levis there. There's been some flags around Levis lately. Some of that, I believe, is just smoke. Some of it could potentially be an issue. But Kwesi's doing a good job. No one knows what he's doing except him. Kwesi's playing jiu-jitsu. He's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. Same thing, yeah. But I do believe, I think something's going to happen this year. It has to, because we can't go into 2024, I don't believe, with a no clear plan at quarterback. If they were going to keep Kirk beyond this year, I think they would have done it already. They would, and we're not going to get back into that extension deal that Kirk's team, supposedly offered to the Vikings and vice versa and all that other stuff. We've talked about that way too many times for right now. So, but I think there's a quarterback that they like in this draft, probably a couple of them. And I think that may be the play in the first round. It's also a possibility if the guys that they don't like are gone, you could look at a Hendon Hooker or somebody like that, in the second or third round. You'd have to get a second round pick, of course, to do that, but that's where the trading back comes in. You need a young quarterback, not a 25-year-old hooker. The only way that 25-year-old makes a real difference, Ant, is if, say he does pan out, you're only going to have him for 10 years instead of 12 to 15 years possibly. It depends upon. Maybe the ceiling isn't as high on an older quarterback. I'm not pushing for Hendon Hooker. I want Anthony Richardson. I've made no bones about that. Just saying, there's options here. Richardson's inaccurate. If you watch tape on Richardson, a lot of his inaccuracies come from his footwork, and that can be corrected. We have to remember this. We brought in Kevin O'Connell to be able to be an offensive mind, to work with quarterbacks, to get stuff out of them that the previous regime could not do. So we have to trust these guys until they prove otherwise. We have to trust that they know what they're doing and trust that they can find a young quarterback, develop a quarterback that we are going to have around here for the next decade and a half. Huge erection from Vikings times. It's Hooker all day. Like next year's draft class better. There's always next year, Anth. We keep hearing that as Vikings fans year after year after year. Oh, we can't do it this year because next year is going to be better. We're going to be in the same boat next year that we are right now as far as draft positioning. Because with this, the team we really haven't lost anything on offense. The defense should be markedly better this year. Just the fact of getting rid of Donatel and bringing in Flores is going to make a huge difference. So we're still going to be picking in that probably 18 to 26 range, somewhere in there. And that's one thing the Vikings have never done is gone up and got their guy at quarterback. We've always waited for somebody to fall to us, or like in the Ponder case, done a panic pick because we weren't, the guys we wanted were gone. GMAC next year looks like the USC kid in May from North Carolina. Excuse me. Caleb Williams, you're going to have the first overall draft pick in order to get him, unless something seriously wrong happens during next year's college football season. And whoever has that first round pick, the number one overall, is not going to give it up unless it's somebody that already has their quarterback. And if they do give it up, it is going to be way more expensive to move up to get him next year. Oh, gee, Anthony, Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis. Grayson McCall. Doc, I agree with this one 100%. Don't give a F mode about this. Let's at least try to get a quarterback of the future. My thoughts exactly. If you try and you fail, at least you tried. But you can't just sit there and, we're going to figure this out, and then next year have to try to dig off the scrap heap of, the free agent quarterbacks, which there are not going to be any good free agent quarterbacks next year. We lose JJ with a Lamar or a Richardson. I don't think so. I've been on record. I don't want Lamar Jackson because he's going to cost too much, and you still have to give up basically at minimum close to similar draft compensation to move up to get a rookie anyway. Skull Mafia this year looks good. Why wait? Still be in the same shoes next year, trading multiple picks to move up. I agree 100%. This is what I've been preaching for the last month about getting a quarterback of the future. Kirk is going to be here this year. We all know that. Barring some shocker deal that goes down, he's going to be the quarterback. We need to have a plan in place for life after Kirk, and waiting until 2024 and having no plan at all at quarterback is a very bad idea in my mind. Nick Mullins is not a starter. He's a very good backup who can start a few games here and there for you and potentially win a game or two. But he's not somebody I want to turn the roster over to for 17 games. turds. We need a quarterback that can pass, not a one read and zoom. Yeah. Quinn Edwards, Texas Longhorns. Yeah, he's got an answer. The deer, I think that's the answer. Key is not to stick with a young guy for too long. That's the nice thing about going with these rookie guys. If after 2 or 3 years you find out this guy isn't it, you can move off him and move on to the next guy. Still off, on a cheap deal, and you're not going to be tied up in salary cap hell. But it's, there needs to be a plan in place, and I do believe that Kwesi and KOC have a plan. What it is yet, I don't know. Is it Richardson? Is it Levis? Is it somebody else? We won't know until draft night. Ewers is not a sleeper. Yeah, I don't think he is either, Reggie. I think he's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 guys probably next year going into the draft. Give the rookie this season to get it together so he can start next year. Exactly. That way you're not throwing away 2024, just hoping that your rookie quarterback can go from day one, or, having to settle for having Nick Mullins or a Gardner Minshew or somebody off the quarterback scrap heap that you picked up, starting the first half of the season until the rookie is ready. The time is now. All you worry about is wasting prime JJ. That's another thing, the deer. If you do it now, you have one less year of that transition period because you have the rookie sitting behind Kurt for the year. Jefferson still is going to get his targets and everything. And I think it's the plan. I think it's going to happen. Doc, I agree with this 100%. There's too many average quarterbacks in this league that are getting paid way too much money. Daniel Jones comes to mind. A lot of other guys. You run them on these rookie deals, and unless they are an elite level quarterback by year 4 or year 5, you move on to and try again. I keep going back to the Kansas City scenario when they drafted Pat Mahomes. They had, Alex Smith had been there. He'd taken them to playoffs in 4 of the 5 years that he'd been the quarterback. Kansas City realized that where their ceiling was with Alex Smith, and it was not the Super Bowl. It was wild card round, divisional round of the playoffs, and that was about it. So they made a very bold move to move up, get Patrick Mahomes, and now they have the best quarterback of this generation. And they've been to the Super Bowl 3 out of the last 5 years and won 2 of them. Is there a Patrick Mahomes in this draft? I don't know. Patrick Mahomes wasn't Patrick Mahomes in that draft either until, he got into the NFL and started turning heads. So, I mean, we've kind of really gotten off topic from the original talk of this show here. We're talking about Cook and Za'Darius, but I do believe those guys will be moved by draft night or at some point in time during the draft anyway. So we are able to use those draft picks. We only have 5 right now. So I think that's going to be the case. We have to trust KOC to be able to see if the guy has it in practice this year. Absolutely. Like I just said, when we fired Zimmer and Spielman, it was because they could not find or develop a quarterback, and and basically the last 2 drafts were terrible. We brought in Kevin O'Connell, an offensive mind, because we felt that he could be the one to build this offense. And eventually, when we found a new quarterback, he would be able to develop him into a quality starting quarterback. We can't change our minds on that now when we haven't even given him the chance to prove us wrong. Mahomes needed that year behind Smith. He'd have been a bust at most other teams. I agree, and that's why I'm advocating whoever it is this year. Get your guy this year and have him sit behind Cousins for a season. I don't like the idea of starting a rookie quarterback week one, regardless of who it is. I think that the quarterback should sit for at least a half a season, preferably a full season. And this is the perfect opportunity for that. We know we have Cousins for one more year. And with that, you let this kid learn. You let him practice every day. You let O'Connell and the quarterback coaches and everybody do their thing with this kid and get him ready for 2024. So we are locked and loaded and ready to go, and we don't have a throwaway year in 2024. My opinion, take it for what it's worth, I guess. But anyway, I don't want to get too far down that quarterback rabbit hole again. I'm sure we'll have plenty more discussions on that between now and the draft, which of course is like 3 weeks away. So things are going to get pretty hot and heavy here. That's what she said. But anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I got to take care of some other stuff tonight and let some of you guys go watch that basketball game if you so choose. Just a quick reminder, Wednesday night, Brunswick's Best will be back with another episode. So check that out when it comes out. Should be like 6 o'clock on Wednesday. That'll release. And then, of course, the main show, Vikings Uncensored, again, Friday night, 6 p.m. It will be a regular studio show this week. We're going to do draft breakdown. We'll be looking at edge rushers this week, along with the mock draft roundup and any other kind of news and whatever all else we can do. Ant wants to extend Cook. Yeah, Ant wants Cook here for another 50 years. But anyway, thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Really appreciate you joining. Hoping to, like I said, going to make this show a regular thing. This is be the regular time slot, Mondays at 7. And, we're going to do quick 20, 30-minute episodes and, hit the hot button topics. That's kind of what I'm making this show for, is to hit some of this stuff that we may not have time to give its due diligence to in the main show, and opens up the main show for other things. So thanks again, everybody. If you have not done so, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, helping us out a ton. Gets those metrics up so we can do more of this stuff. Again, Ray, thanks. GMAC, Ant, Ryan, Doc, My Worthless Opinion. All you guys, thank you for joining. I really appreciate the interactions. I'm going to try to make this show live as often as I possibly can. Maybe a show here and there. We'll have to do a pre-record, but I love this interaction with you guys and being able to discuss back and forth, talking Vikings. That's what we're doing. So, but with that, thanks again, everybody. And we'll see you Wednesday for Brunswick's Best. And of course, Friday, 6 p.m. for episode 105 of Vikings Uncensored. So have a good night. We'll see you guys later.